Happening today, former Ohio House Speaker Larry Householder.
Just hours ago, former Ohio House Speaker Larry Householder was sentenced to 20 years in prison.
Householder will serve time for his role in a $60 million bribery scheme.
Do you guys remember when the Ohio Speaker of the House, Larry Householder, was sent to prison for taking more than $61 million in bribes to pass and uphold a $1 billion nuclear plant bailout? Yeah, me too. And today we're going to deep dive into the details of that case because, spoiler alert, there's way more to the story than what you've been told. Let's break it down. Larry Householder didn't just stumble into one of the biggest bribery scandals in American politics. This was calculated, multi-year scheme to funnel millions of dollars from a utility company, First Energy, into dark money accounts. These accounts funded Householder's rise to power and, in turn, his ability to push legislation that was basically a gold mine for the company. But hold on, this wasn't just about bribes. No. The ripple effects of this case go far beyond one corrupt politician. Before we get into the video, I just would like to ask you to subscribe. It helps me make more videos and shows me that you guys are interested in the content I am creating. Here's what happened. First Energy wanted a $1.3 billion bailout for their failing nuclear power plants, and Larry Householder was their guy to make it happen. They funneled money into PACs, and in return, Householder orchestrated a plan to pass House Bill 6. This wasn't your average piece of legislation, it was a nuclear bailout disguised as a clean energy bill. And if you want to read it, it's down in the description below. Now, how do you get something so obviously corrupt pass? Simple. You create a pay-to-play system. Householder used the funds to secure his position as Speaker of the House, support his allies, and crush his political opponents. This wasn't just political maneuvering, it was a business transaction. And it didn't stop there. Once the bill had passed, a citizen-led effort emerged to repeal the bill, HB 6, through a referendum. But guess what? The people behind HB 6 weren't going to let that happen. This is where things really get shady. First Energy and its allies launched an aggressive, multifaceted campaign to protect HB 6 and block the referendum. And they didn't play fair. Let me break it down for you. This was happening when I attended Cleveland State University. Go Vikes. And I approached to sign this petition that read, "Stop foreign entities from stealing our energy." When I saw this, I obviously did not sign the petition. Think about that for a second. Foreign entities stealing energy. This was pure fear-mongering, and it made voters think repealing HB 6 would somehow hand Ohio's energy grid over to foreign companies, which wasn't true whatsoever. Millions of dollars were funneled through shadowy political organizations to fund these campaigns. These groups produced ads, distributed flyers, and paid for petitions, all while hiding the fact that, surprise, surprise, First Energy was footing the bill. It gets worse from here. There were reports of people being paid to interfere with the signature gathering efforts for the referendum. Petitioners claimed that they were harassed, followed, and even blocked from reaching voters. During that time, there were rumors that a party associated with First Energy approached the vendor that was handling the opposing HB 6 petitions and paid them off to sabotage the signed petitions. So they burned them. Ads flooded TV, radio, and online platforms praising HB 6 as a clean energy bill and vilifying anyone who wanted to repeal it. What they didn't tell you, the ads were bankrolled by First Energy and designed to protect their bottom line, not Ohioans. This campaign worked. The referendum never got enough signatures to make it to the ballot. By the time the FBI exposed the bribery scheme, it was already too late. HB 6 was already law. When the FBI finally got involved, it was like pulling back the curtain on a political machine fueled by greed. Householder was convicted and sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. To avoid criminal charges, First Energy entered into something called a Deferred Prosecution Agreement. A Deferred Prosecution Agreement, DPA, is a deal between prosecutors and a company or individual to pause criminal charges. The company agrees to pay fines, admit wrongdoing, and fix their mistakes if they follow all the rules during the agreed time. But if they don't, the prosecutors can bring the charges back. It's a way to hold companies accountable without shutting them down entirely. Basically a legal get-out-of-jail-free card for the corporations. They agreed to pay a $230 million fine, which, let's be real, is pocket change for these guys, and promised to clean up their act. Sounds like a slap on the wrist, right? But here's where it gets interesting. The company's former CEO, Chuck Jones, was later indicted on racketeering charges in January 2025. That's right, folks. As I was writing this script for this video and doing my research, he may have violated his deferment program. This guy managed to turn will behave, I swear, into we're still running scams. If it is proven that Jones and other executives acted under the company's direction or with knowledge of the misconduct during or after the DPA was established, First Energy itself could be seen as violating the agreement also. Here are some additional consequences that First Energy faced. The Securities and Exchange Commission came knocking and slapped First Energy with a $100 million civil penalty for, you guessed it, lying to investors. Turns out covering up a bribery scheme isn't a great look when you're a publicly traded company. Who would have thought? They misled their investors about their involvement in the whole fiasco, and the SEC made sure that they paid for it. And if that wasn't enough, First Energy had to fork over another $20 million to the state of Ohio just to dodge more criminal charges. This wasn't just about money though. The deal also forced First Energy to cooperate with investigations and implement some long overdue corporate reforms. Basically, Ohio said, we'll take your cash, but you better clean up your act. Oh, and here's the cherry on top. First Energy got booted off the Cleveland Browns stadium. Yeah, that shiny stadium with their name on it, gone. After the scandal blew up, they and the Browns decided to call it quits on their naming rights deal. The stadium went back to being Cleveland Browns Stadium, which, let's be honest, is never going to help my hometown team see a Super Bowl. It's now known as Huntington Bank Stadium. And what about the people who helped make this all happen? Let's talk about two key players. Matt Borges, a former Ohio Republican Party chair turned lobbyist extraordinaire. Borges got his hand dirty in the bribery scheme, and it didn't end well for him. He was convicted in 2023 and is now serving 5 years in federal prison. And then there's Sam Randazzo, the former chair of Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. First Energy handed him a nice $4.3 million bribe because, that's just how things work when you're playing Monopoly at the state level. But the story takes a dark turn in 2024. Randazzo was found dead, and his death was ruled that he had unalived himself. You can't make this up. But let me tell you something. This isn't just about Larry Householder. This case exposes how deeply money and politics are intertwined. First Energy didn't just corrupt one man, they corrupted the entire system. They exploited loopholes in campaign finance laws, used their dark money groups to hide their tracks, and manipulated public opinion to get their way. Here's the part of the story you probably haven't heard. First Energy's role in the scandal is just the tip of the iceberg. The company has been linked to other shady dealings across multiple states, and they're not alone. This case reveals a much larger pattern of corporate influence in politics. And think about this. Householder got caught because he got too greedy. But how many other politicians are out there playing the same game, just smarter? How many other corporations are quietly buying legislation, shaping policies, and controlling the narrative without anyone noticing? Larry Householder might be sitting in a prison cell, but the system that allowed this to happen is still alive and kicking. This isn't just a story about one corrupt politician. It's a story about how our political system has been hijacked by money and power. So the next time you hear about a clean energy bill or a billion-dollar corporate bailout, ask yourself, who's really behind it? And more importantly, who's profiting from it?
Now at 5, convicted felon Larry Householder is making plans to get out. Householder is serving 20 years in federal prison for being the mastermind behind the biggest political corruption case in Ohio history. Tonight, 10 TV confirmed with his legal advisor that Householder wants to be pardoned by President-elect Donald Trump.
As I cover crimes and scandals from different parts of the country, my goal is to find not very well-known details whenever possible. There's something about keeping the public properly informed about any events that happen, but these events aren't just headlines or legends. They involve real people, real lives, even if they happen during our time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment if you have any input on this video. Thanks. Hey there, I'm back. I just wanted to tell you about my Discord server that I did make. I want to build a community that talks about crime, gives details about crimes that the public may not know about, and essentially use it as a resource to keep people safe and informed. So if you want to, the link is in the description. Go join the Discord server, and I'll see you there. Thanks.